right, thank you. So this is week 1 still, part 2, and we're talking about energy and residential energy. And we're talking about climate change, and there's a lot of global initiative to try to reduce our carbon footprint. And we talked about greenhouse gases. What are those? What? Yeah, which are just gases that will make the atmosphere hold on to heat. So it's a fact, it's happening. However, a lot of countries trying to find ways to make things better, and there are a lot of good strides and a lot of improvement. And we'll show some numbers as well. So they increased a lot, but that's in the 90s when people were in denial. But it did decrease, and it's getting better, and has been offset, led by Europe, Germany, Scandinavian countries, and it's there's a lot of initiative from a lot of good companies. Imports impact on the economies, import and export for like trades and energy, oil, what have you. Because again, the economy is very tied up to this issue, so it's a big political situation. Our resources are not sustainable right now. Everybody knows about that. It will not sustain our increasing demand. And if we think about it, if some people say if all people change their behavior and everything has changed, if big industry and big corporations do not change, that would not make a big impact. So your footprint and my footprint is not that big as much. It's not as big as big company dumping tons and tons every day. So something has to be done globally. However, from our part, we want to build houses that are more sustainable and design houses that are more sustainable. The progress in renewable energy is very slow. However, it's getting much and much better. So there's a lot of optimism going on. We talked about what are renewable energy. What is renewable energy? So there are two. There's green energy and there's renewable. What is renewable?
Like sun?
Yeah, the sun. Something that's always going to be there. The source is always going to be there. The sun is a nuclear reactor that is thousands of miles away. It's basically a lot of hydrogen bomb going off every second, and that's how we get our heat. But it's far away to be safe, and it's free. So you don't pay for the sun, you don't pay for the wind. It's renewable. The source is always going to be there. Same thing with biodiesel or ethanol. It's renewable, which means you can cultivate it. You can keep bringing it back. What about green? What does green mean? Green. We say green. We always talk about green energy. What does that mean? Huh? I heard that something. Zero emission, yes. So zero emission means like there is no carbon dioxide or any combustion going on. So gas is renewable, but it's not green. Nuclear is not. Let's think it's renewable, but it's kind of green because there's no emission. Think about it this way. If there's no leaks. So this is the difference. You have to think about it. So gas could be considered renewable because you can make gas. In farms, they actually ferment cow dung and they ferment tree bark, and you can make ethanol. Geothermal is totally renewable. There's a lot of heat in the earth that is endless for our existence. And what's kind of interesting that all the heat from the earth is from 4 billion years ago, when the earth was a big chunk of lava. It's just cooling off. So this is stored heat from 4 billion years ago. This is the heat of the earth. And if you go deep enough, the temperature is always constant. So we can use that to heat houses and have our residential energy. Solar, so we said solar divided into 2 parts. PV, which is photovoltaic. Second part is CSP, which is concentrated solar power.
What does PV stand for?
Huh?
What is PV?
All right, down. If I can spell it. So, CSP.
Stirling Engine.
Here?
Yeah.
Or is it EI?
No, AIE, or AIC. No.
So, concentrated solar power and photovoltaic. Photovoltaic, so the light comes from the sun, has visible light, has infrared, it has ultraviolet, and it has photons. All light has photons. Solar power. So, we can use the photons to make electricity. Photons react with silicon and small pieces of brass to make voltage. And this is what you see in all calculators. This is a small photovoltaic cell that makes very, very small voltage. It has evolved a lot. And now we can get a board that is as big as the table, but it makes 100 watt, which is not bad. 100 watt is not bad. How many watts does an AC consume? If 5,000 BTU, probably you need 500 watts. So you need five of those tables to run one AC. So it's not that big, right? But over time, you can store it and use it. So 100 watts is not that bad. This is photovoltaic. It's very common in this area, and it works whether there's sun, a lot of sun, or not a lot of sun. Even in cloudy days, it will work. Concentrated solar power is a different thing. Is when we use dish or troughs or mirrors to use the heat of the sun, not the light, the heat of the sun to boil water, and use that boiling water to make steam, and use that steam to turn a turbine, and use that turbine to turn a generator. So in the US here, we have one of the biggest CSP plants in the world. Does anybody know about it? The largest concentrated solar power plant in the world is in America. It's in Arizona, California. It's called the DARPA project. Sadly, it's not getting a lot of advertisement, a lot of publicity.
Is that where all the mirrors are pointed at?
Yeah,
Specific.
I'll show you. It's fantastic.
It's like a tower. It's useful.
So I walked in the there you go. So this is 3 megawatt plant running completely on solar power. It supplies a few cities in Arizona and New Mexico and California. 5,000 mirrors.
What's the acres
I don't know, it's huge. Each one of those mirrors is as big as an SUV.
there? No.
Yeah.
It's Arizona.
These are street, by the way. This is huge. So in here, you have a focal point where all those mirrors are concentrating the temperature. Temperature here is around 600 degrees, 700 degrees, and it boils water, and the water and steam comes down here to the power plant. So you're making steam out of free energy, and it turns huge turbines and sends electricity all the way to cities. So this is one of the biggest plants in the world, and nobody knows about it. But it's there, and we're doing a great job. That we're gonna make more and more of these. And it even works during the night. They have molten salt tanks here where they heat during the day, and the salt will solidify during the night, so you can keep it running. So I was doing some research for the molten salt properties that will be used to store these towers. So this is concentrated solar power. Of course, it comes in different styles. You can have troughs. You can have a dish, something called a Stirling Engine. Just to get you exposed to these little things, it's get your mind thinking. So Stirling Engine. So that's a Stirling Engine. It's very amazing design. It's been used by the Army, and it's used in the very remote areas, which basically it's a small engine over here. They have a gas tube that expands and contracts based on these little mirrors and can generate up to 1 kilowatt. So you can run an entire house based on this dish for free. And they're getting more and more. Say again? Yeah. Well, it depends on how much wattage you want. This thing's around like I'll say 10 meters, 30 feet across. It's pretty huge. It's not something you put in your backyard, let's put it this way. But it's really good to have in remote areas. And that's another issue for concentrated solar power. So with concentrated solar power, we use heat. With photovoltaic, we use photons. So these panels used to be around like 7%. What does that mean? 7% means the amount of energy in sunlight hitting this table, for example, we're getting 7% of it. If it's equal 100 watts, we're getting only 7 watts out of what is possible to absorb. So a lot of scientists, smart people like you, are thinking, what can we do to make it better? How can we absorb more and more of the sunlight? In the last 7 years, it has jumped up from 7% to 35.
Oh.
35 is great. And it's getting better and better. People are thinking, okay, how can we make it better? And it's getting better and better. And at some point, it's gonna get up to 50%, which is really great. And that's enough. 50% is great. You know, the amount of sunlight that hits the earth in one day is enough to sustain the humankind energy needs for 10,000 years. If you can collect all the sun rays that comes in one day, hypothetically, if you cover all the oceans and all the earth with solar power, one day absorb that energy, 10,000 years is don't need anymore. So in theory, there's a lot of potential in solar power. It is clean, it is renewable, it's free, but we need some people to think about how to make it better. And I've seen a lot of panels everywhere now. Even installing panels that's not that efficient, over time it's giving incentive to the industry to improve. Things get cheaper with time, right? Like LED lights was $20 3 years ago. Now you can get it for $1 from Washington Job Lot. That's huh?
Like a VCR being fitted.
Yeah, remember how much was a VCR? Like $3,000 or so. For $50 now you can get a VCR. Okay? Geothermal is another field that I really encourage you to get into. It's picking up a lot of steam here in the Northeast. A lot of companies are doing geothermal. And again, it started off as very expensive, but it's getting cheaper and cheaper as people getting better ways to put it in. And again, it's very lucrative. If you want to get into it, I can get you some names from some companies and you can start like thinking how to get into that. Again, it's free. Once you put the system, it's free for a long, long time. You don't even have to worry about it. You dig a hole in the ground, like 10 yards, 15 yards, depending. It gets a little bit tough because some places in New England, they have a lot of rocks. But once you go past that, you have a reservoir of warmth and in the winter and cool air in the summertime, and you just circulate fluid, either water or air. So the only cost you're paying is the circulation. Other than that, everything is free. So there's a lot of ideas, genius ideas that's happening. And again, people like yourself, they come with ideas and it picks up. And there's a lot of subsidies, a lot of incentives for people to start smaller businesses and do stuff like that. Again, solar, PV, and CSP. This data is very outdated from '97. It's very old in the book, but it got better in the last decade or so. This graph, again, is outdated. But the idea of this graph is to show you that to sustain the supply and demand that we have now with the current population growth is not doable. So the population is increasing, our demand is increasing. To subsidize that, we will need to add more fuel. We cannot add any more fossil fuel because I think we reached top peak supply. So the goal is maybe we can subsidize that with other alternative energy. And again, people are getting with a lot of creative ideas like fermenting stuff. Guys, like fermenting tree bark, like ethanol, biodiesel. So there's a lot of ideas to subsidize the upcoming demand with renewable supplies. So energy in the US, coal, sadly, is still the top fuel for the US. And there are still people digging in mines with a hammer and chisel and taking things in trucks. That's not in the past, it's still there going. And still even in Germany and in China, coal is still the main source of fuel for power generation. In New England, our biggest source is what? for energy. Gas. We're using more natural gas, which is good. But coal is better than gas when it comes to what? Energy density. The amount of heat you get from 1 pound of coal is way more than what you get from gas. However, gas is cleaner. It burns cleaner. It's less effort to transfer. So you want to be with more gas. Renewable sources. We have a lot of solar now. Solar was about all the renewable energies 5 years ago. We were at only 10% for production. It's getting better. It's picking up, and with more incentive from the government and the power companies, you can. And they will rent your roof, put solar panels in it. They give you power for free, and they give you money. Yeah. So they sell the other excess power to the grid, and you can make some money out of it. So solar, wind, geothermal, and bio. So whenever solar and wind comes together, because whenever we don't have sun, we have wind. Either a windy day or a sunny day. And New England is a very good area for solar and wind. Geothermal again is using the heat from the earth. I know in Portland, Oregon, and in some areas of Oregon, they have a lot of geysers, and they use those geysers to make energy. It's hot water coming from the ground. That's free heat. We can use that to generate electricity. Most of our needs are electrical, so if you can't generate electricity, that'll be good. Bio, what is bio energy? Examples?
Corn.
Huh?
Corn.
Corn, ethanol, biodiesel, tea bark. There's a lot of ideas to use the biological products to make fuel, either by burning them or fermenting them or making turning them into fuel. There's a lot of byproducts also that are used to make fuel. So this is home energy consumption in hot climate. Again, this is from '97, and it has improved a lot. So in hot climate, you're gonna use more AC. Water heating is not that much, and space heating is gonna be very little. And the fridge actually is a very expensive device to run all year round. It's getting better and more economical, but still it's something you're running 24/7. So it's consuming a lot of energy. I don't know what is the average use of fridge, but I think it's around $500 a year or $700 a year, depending on the size of the fridge. And sometimes there is no way around it. Maybe you can make it better.
Mini
But,
fridge.
huh? Mini fridge. Some people have freezers in the basement and have a mini fridge for their daily consumption. If you go to Western Europe, or in fact, if you're anywhere in Europe, they don't rely too much into the fridge. And if you think about it. If you look at your fridge, there's not much that you're gonna eat. There's like 10 bottles of ketchup sitting there, condiments and old food, and maybe some soda, some stuff that you do not need to refrigerate. But because you have a big fridge, you can just put stuff in it and forget it. So if you think about like reduction of the size, you can have a smaller fridge which will run with less energy. There's a fridge here in the Stirling lounge that I just unplugged and took away. There was nothing in it. It was running for nothing. There was bottles of ketchup in it, a few sugar packets, and mustard. Okay, we're running a fridge for like $1,000 a year for keeping stuff that does not need to be refrigerated. If you think about it, you do not need to refrigerate bread, vegetables. Vegetables and fruits do not need refrigerated if you're gonna buy them on a weekly basis, unless you're gonna buy an apple and eat it a month later. You know, if you need to freeze meat, get a freezer, chest freezer, and put it away that you can open once a week or whenever you need to. So you can downsize your fridge a little bit. And actually now the new fridges you buy, usually they have 2 shelves, so you don't have to open all of them at the same time. And again, you can always think of downsizing and what do you actually need. You need to freeze like 12 pack of beer, or like how many you drink a day. You know? So there are ways to economize. However, everybody have their own lifestyle. You don't want to disrupt your lifestyle. You can just like economize somehow. Anywho, so the fridge is like 10% of your consumption. Think about that. In hot climate, if you think about it, space heating is the most part of your power consumption. If you look at your utility bill, probably you pay twice in the winter than you pay in the summertime. Again, appliance and fridge is still the same. Why do we need fridge in the winter? You just like put it outside and just open it. Use the balcony. Water heating is another issue. So for space heating, it got much better. We can do a lot about that. Weatherization, eliminate the waste, eliminate the amount of heat that escapes the house. Water heating, this issue has always been tackled by using the on-demand water heaters. On-demand water heater is the best thing since last bread, because you don't have to store water and have it being cooled and heat it again, and have it being cooled and heat it again. It wastes a lot of energy. Meanwhile, you can have an on-demand where you turn on the faucet and hot water will come right away and be heated on demand. So storage is 20% of your power bill, and space heating. With space heating, there's no way around it. You need what you need for your comfort, but what you can do is eliminate the heat that's escaping the house. That's something you can do. Other than that, I'm not asking anybody to wear a sweater and turn off the heat. You need to be comfortable. So it's some stuff you have to have. But we can have ways to eliminate the waste, and you also have to make sure the house is healthy and it breathes as well. We need 15 cubic feet per minute of fresh air coming into the house per person. I'll write this down. Otherwise, your house is not healthy. 15. So if you have 4 people living in the house, 60 feet per minute. If you don't have the house breathe and exchange air, it's going to be unhealthy. We'll have high level, huh?
Like opening a window or just like,
You can have a vent.
so wouldn't every house have a vent though?
Yeah, usually every house has a vent. If you just leave your bathroom fan on all day, that'll be enough. But when we talk about infiltration, a house actually has a lot of leaks. It's not completely sealed. And they do something called the blower door testing to know how much the house leaks. But ideally, you want the house to be sealed and you want a vent in the house exchanging air. And usually it goes with your duct system to bring in air. So 15 cubic feet per minute, which is not that much, it's enough. If you don't, you will have a lot of pollutant. You have low amount of oxygen. We don't think about oxygen, right? We need oxygen. You cannot breathe the same air over and over again. You get headache, you get dizzy, you get sick, you get mold. So you need to have fresh air, otherwise the quality of the air inside the house is going to be really bad. So that's something we have to think about, and we don't want to skip on that thing, bringing fresh air. However, you don't want to be losing a lot of heat from this wall, for example. Why am I losing heat from that wall? It's a big office in the outside. Some insulation will help you with that. But reasonably, if you design the ideal atmosphere inside the house, it should not be a lot of money if you do it also wisely. We'll learn about that. We'll learn about all the tactics that we can use to conserve energy in the house. Windows are a big place where you lose a lot of heat, and you gain a lot of heat as well in the summertime. Doors, receptacles like these ones, usually they leak a lot of air. We'll see that in the video, how you get a lot of air in and out. And also, you don't want uncontrolled air to come into your house because it comes with allergens, it comes sometimes with vermin, it comes with a lot of insects. So you want the house completely sealed, and you want to bring in your own air-conditioned air inside the house. Sometimes you bring in air that's really cold, so you have to have some kind of exchange of heat. And we'll talk about that. And the book actually has a lot of techniques and a lot of ideas that are very practical to use. So this is the energy consumption in the summer and the winter. In the winter, probably the February or January, you spend a lot of money on heating, and in the summertime, probably around August or September, you spend a lot of money on cooling. Probably not as much as New England, but it's a lot of load. So thermal improvement, that's a huge thing, and it's not that expensive. It's basically insulation. Where do we lose most of our heat in the winter? Where does it go? The attic. The attic gets hot for no reason, nobody's living there, but heat goes up, the attic gets really warm, and you lose it to the roof. That's a lot of loss. In some houses, like the house I'm living in now, I don't turn on the heat because my neighbor is like heating my entire house. So thank you very much. That's not good because the heat goes up, and you want to isolate the ceiling. Windows are another area where you lose a lot of heat. You can see the condensation in the windows because it's not very well insulated. Single pane should not be used here in the US, which is like only one piece of glass. That's really dumping a lot of heat outside. So at least double pane, and if you can't, you can do something about that. Even if you have single pane, what are you gonna do?
Or plastic.
Exactly. It doesn't look good, but it does the job. It's better than losing a lot of money throwing your energy outside into the atmosphere. Replace all the equipment. Replace windows. Windows are expensive. This is the issue with windows. One window can cost up to $1,000 to replace. It's a lot of money. It's an investment. But it's better to replace the windows than to replace your furnace. Because with the furnace, you're gonna be paying for all this money you're dumping into the outside. So all heating systems, if you took the combustion class, you will understand that machines that burn oil, like furnaces or oil burners, as they get older and they don't have enough maintenance, they will consume a lot of gas. Similar to your car. If you do tune up your car, you notice that the mileage, the MPGs goes down, right? If you don't change the oil, you notice that if you have an MPG thing, calculator, if you change the oil, it's much better for the first 3,000. Then
It's sluggish.
yeah, it gets lower and lower, and you pay for that. So maintenance is very important, and people do not do that. Your spark plugs are very important for your mileage. Some people even say waxing is good, but it's really not that much. That's how we do it. That's an extreme. But you need to keep the equipment running in a good condition to get good mileage out of it. Cooling system need to be clean. Many people who have central airs, they do not have the filter changed. Have you seen that a lot? The filter gets clogged. If the filter gets clogged, there is no good air circulation. If there is no good air circulation, you're turning the compressor, making the compressor overwork. You're not getting the cooling here you need. And filters are not that expensive. Sadly, if you ever become a technician, please do not rip people off the filters. They're not that expensive. I had somebody charging like 120 change a filter. Like, come on, man, let's take advantage of the customers.
Landed a free, bro.
And they don't know much. And I've seen it. I was like, okay, this is really sad. Don't do that.
Food on the table.
Like $20.
Damn, you know. These bills aren't gonna pay
It's
themselves.
the same way. It's the same way when you go to the car to change your oil, and the guy tells you, "You want to change the car? The cabin filter is $70." Like, what are you putting in there for $70? And you go on Amazon, you find the filter for like $5. I mean, I understand you gotta make a living, but that's way too much. That is way too much. So, have some mercy, man. Lighting is another way you can alter your power consumption and reduce it. You can have, again, LEDs are becoming really great. They come in different shapes and colors and sizes, and they're very efficient. We'll talk about lighting for a whole chapter, and we'll explain why different lighting are appropriate for different locations. If you're an artist or you do a lot of woodwork and stuff like that, you don't want LED, you want the actual incandescent. It gives different reflection. However, LED came out far away to give you all the temperature, color temperature you need. So, and it works with a fraction of the wattage that you get for regular light. Electrical devices. Optimization of how to use electrical devices and how much power they use. I don't know if you guys heard about smart plugs. They're an amazing invention. You can get it for like now $5 on Amazon. Smart plugs. Right. So it's kind of a timer, but you can put it in every plug. Let's say I have a fan. I put it in a smart plug and I put it in my phone and just turn it on and off.
Oh, so you can control how long the fan is on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kinda cool.
And you can monitor. If you forget to turn it off, you go to work and you see it's on and turn it off. And it's very cheap. You get it for like $5 plug.
Screw the family members.
Yeah. it's pretty awesome. So you can control all the lights, all the appliances during that, and it makes a big difference over time. Even though if you have CFL lights, it adds up with time. We will do some calculations to show you how these things do add up. A single incandescent light bulb will cost you $5 a month if you run 24/7. Over here, that's around $50, $60 a month, a year. So $60 is something. That is like $10. Adjust running time for equipment, and in some states they have smart metering systems where they will tell you what is the wattage for that time. So how much do we pay now for kilowatt hour? Does anybody know?
For what, for late?
For power.
Oh, wow.
It shows you bill.
I don't even look at my.
Yeah, nobody looks. It's 15 cents. Huh? 15 actually. Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states when it comes to power because they use gas. So 15 cents. If you go to the Carolinas, around 10 cents. Florida is around 7 cents because they have nuclear plants. So it depends. And it also depends on the supply and demand. Middle of the day is different price than middle of the night. So you can always have appliances that run during the low time. And the new washing machines and dryers are very quiet, so you can run them during the night and when the power is low. But if you go to Eversource, they'll tell you how much is the wattage at that time. Yeah, they'll tell you, so you can program your machine to run at midnight so you can save money. It makes a difference again. If you're making a load every day, it makes a difference. It adds up. Talk about people. The human factor is very, very, very important. People are not aware of what's going on. But if you put some numbers to it and make them understand how is this costing money, they will adjust their behavior. That's a big thing. Looking at your fridge for half an hour, deciding what to eat, that's not gonna be good. At some point, I don't know who came up, Samsung or somebody came with a glass door.
The thing was,
Who was it? Well, somebody came up with that, right? Or a camera. I think that has a camera.
I think it was gold.
Yeah, it's a camera, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So you can see what's in the fridge without opening the door.
Yeah, you can, like, there's one.
Because I've seen that. People put, okay, what is it, salad day or cake? We think it's good. No, maybe. And like 15 minutes has gone. You depleted you depleted your entire fridge of that. Yeah. And once you open the door, all the cold air will fall. So I was sitting in the couch once and I feel this cold air coming to my feet. And I was like, what's going on? And actually, the fridge door was open. So it was leaking and the floor was all cold. So that's money, buddy. Over time. So we want also to reduce the losses in heating and cooling, and that's structural things. We can do some insulation wherever it's possible, and we'll talk also about insulation. Air leakage, known also as infiltration or also exfiltration. Infiltration is when you bring air from the outside inside. Exfiltration is when you leak your air from the inside to the outside. Can we eliminate it 100%? Yes, we can. But it's not practical. You want the house to breathe. And if you do, I don't know how you're going to do that with a bubble or something. You're going to have mechanical ventilation. Otherwise, the house is going to be reusing the same air over and over again, which is not healthy at all. Water storage is needed. I think at this day and age, we do not need to store water. Depending on how much occupancy you have. If you have a building with 20 people living in it, probably on demand is not going to be enough. You might have to store some water. And if you buy new appliances, most washers and most dishwashers, they have their own heating element. So you don't have to store water for that. So the heating element will heat the water when needed, which is very practical. Equipment maintenance is very important, again. Otherwise, lose efficiency. Excessive heat gain. Putting impractical windows in bad locations. I was living in a house where they have those cheap little skylights on the roof, which is single pane. The second floor was around 100 degrees. It's 80 outside, it's 100 degrees inside because of the skylight. It was impossible to put curtains in it, it's only single pane. So I went there with a cardboard and just like plugged the whole thing because it was just wasteful. Heats up quickly, the AC is running non-stop. So this is another idea of simple solution you can do to eliminate overworking your AC. Lighting, LED versus other. If you look at CFL lights, which is incandescent, compact fluorescent lights, or the regular incandescent light, when you turn it on, it gets hot, right? You can't even touch it. Meanwhile, the LED is completely cool to touch. So what happens is the LED uses the electricity to make light and not heat. So heat is not what we want from a light. So that's what makes the LED more efficient now. It's using the electricity to make light and not heat. Our behavior, again, we don't want to change our lifestyle. You don't want to go to somebody and tell them, hey, you're gonna live like now with this much and this much, and we're gonna like change your lifestyle. Nobody wants to do that, you know. You want to adjust your own lifestyle, just make it a little bit better. And everybody's different. We should not have like everybody live the same way. So everybody have different needs, and everybody have different patterns. So you don't want to come to some people and tell them, no, do not do this and do that. No, we want to adjust to their lifestyle and just make adjustment to the structure and the equipment done to help people to change their behavior. It's really difficult. And again, people's needs are different, so we cannot just like copy things from one place to another. So, home energy consumption is heating the house or cooling the house. Hot water, appliances is what we use for home energy. Why do industrial countries consume energy? Because again, we have big industries and big corporates that use a lot of energy, and that's not for us to do, but we can do our part of the consumption as consumers. Current sources of energy, currently we're using coal, natural gas, and hopefully within the next 20 years we'll be able to transition to better sources of energy. And that transition gonna come two sides, controlling of the consumption, also having better sources of supply. What is renewable energy? A source that you can always have over and over again. 4 types of renewable energy. Example: solar, wind, geothermal, or bio. Some energy waste in the residential heating and cooling, leaks from the walls, windows, attic, bad equipment, out of tune. So that's what I have for. Thank you.